Grand Rising, beautiful souls. Back for part two of the lesson, Thy King James Version, and why it should matter to thee. The second installment is called Diversions. Interestingly enough, the definition of the word diversion is the redirection of something or someone from their original course, purpose, or focus. Like I said, very interesting. So, um, on one of my videos last week, I may have mentioned the grid going down, the Carrington event, and that was like a precursor that we had last night. That the UTB went down, and there was a little bit of a panic. So, I wonder what would happen if everything crashed. We're not hoping for that, but I want you to know that the best thing that you can do is to continue on your journey and making that connection to the Most High. So, this lesson, Diversions, is about the different versions of the Bible. And I have some information here. A lot of it's from online, but when I get to the meat and potatoes, we're going to talk about why. I'm going to be reading you a few things about the types of translations in Scripture. Just a little bit of information. So, this first deal is about popular Bible translations. And here are some of the comments. The one at the top is the NIV, New International Version. It reads, balanced approach, highly popular for study and reading. The KJV, or the King James Version, 1611 traditional, uses formal and poetic language. That's all it says. The ESV, or English Standard Version, literal word for word accuracy, popular in modern churches. The NLT, or New Living Translation, thought for thought, very high readability. The New King James Versions, or NKJVs, state updates the KJV with modern English. The NASB, or New American Standard Bible, considered highly literal. You know, that's a bit of the information they give about some of them. And here it tells us how to choose a translation. For study, use literal translations like the NASB or the ESV. For reading devotion, use clear contemporary versions like the NIV or the NLT. And if you don't remember what those are, then look back up or listen behind what I just said earlier, and you'll get the definition of those different Bible versions. Here's one. For tradition, use the KJV or the NKJV. They don't seem to put much emphasis on really using the King James Version. However, I understand why. All right. Here's a little question, comment, answer section. Which is better, NKJV or the NIV? Meaning New King James or New International. The core difference lies in translation, philosophy, and reading experience. The NIV simplifies and smooths the text for natural English understanding. The NKJV keeps a more traditional tone while improving clarity. If you value modern language and accessibility, the NIV may be a better fit. So they really like to toot the NIV. All right. Types of translations: word for word, literal, aim to translate each original word as closely as possible. NASV, New American Standard, known for high literal accuracy, great for in depth study. The ESV, English Standard, a balance of literalness and readability, popular with conservatives. Thought for thought, dynamic, fundamental focus on conveying the original meaning in natural sounding English. NIV, very popular, balances accuracy with readability. The NLT, New Living Translation, highly readable and contemporary, good for beginners. Traditional, KJV, King James, a classic masterpiece, but uses older language. Updated versions like NK or New King James modernize the language. So, as you see, they toot the languages that are more modern and they steer away from the King James versions. So, once again, the title, Thy King James Version and Why It Should Matter to Thee. This is part two. It's been about 10 years, like I said, when I began receiving these messages about this subject. And as I was writing, before I went down to have breakfast or get breakfast, I thought that having to put so much work into it was what kept putting me off from completing it. And as I thought that was earlier, I glanced at my cell phone and it said 3:33 p.m. and 33% battery power. If that's not enough, this will be a three-parter. And 33 just so happens to be a master teacher number. So I think actually that happened after I came back up. Yeah, after the 11:11 because it was 3:33 p.m. Um, just another synchronicity. Don't doubt yourself. Sometimes I do because I could be in shock from day to day at how much my spirit guides and my heavenly team really are allowing me to be his hands and feet, to walk in spirit. It just amazes me from one day to the next. So again, 33 just happens to be a master teacher number because it was the age of Jesus, the Son of Man, at his physical death. And their way of letting me know, right place, right time. So from reading the description, we see that the NIV was created for people who kind of had a problem understanding the King James. They wanted something smoother and something easier to understand, I guess. Well, that's the reason that there are so very many Bible versions. There are over 800. But the only thing that they all have in common is that not one of them, is holy. I apologize, I'm a little tired now. This is because there are so many due to ongoing efforts and translating them from the original languages of Aramaic, Greek, and Hebrew. It's going to be impossible to dissect them all, but I gave you a few, and now let me give you a scripture, and we're going to run through the different versions. I'm going to do as many as I possibly can, and this is going to lead us into our next lesson. Well, here I am. I'm back, and I've got a list of different Bible versions, and the scripture that I'm using is one that's going to tie in 2 or 3 lessons ago. when we talk about the blood, and the blood being through the prayer closet. And if you listen to that message, you understand that you are that prayer closet, your flesh, your vessel. And the blood is between spirit man and the carnal man, the treasure, your soul, and your vessel, the prayer closet. This scripture is about that and in that lesson. And we're going to start with the NIV, which they start usually with NIV. It's 1 Corinthians 3 and 16. It reads, "Don't you know that you yourselves are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in your midst?" All right. Here's the NLT, New Living. "Don't you realize that all of you together are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God lives in you?" English Standard Version, "Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you?" Berean Standard, "Do you not know that you yourselves are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you?" The King James, "Know ye not that ye are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you?" I'm just reading straight from the Bible versions here. New King James says, "Do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you?" The NASB, and has a year here, 1995, "Do you not know that you are a temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you?" The Amplified Bible, "Do you not know and understand that you, the church, are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells permanently in you, collectively and individually?" Wow, that's quite a diversion. Holman Christian Standard Bible, "Don't you yourselves know that you are God's sanctuary and that the Spirit of God lives in you?" American Standard, "Know ye not that ye are a temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you?" One more, the ERV, English Revised, "Know ye not that ye are a temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you?" So, reading those, you see that none of them pay credence or give homage to the Most High. They all just mention God. And I say to all of them, which God? And I like the King James because the point that I plan to make in the next video is probably made best with it, but not one of these versions would I consider holy. Not one. And the NIV I would use for kindling, to tell you the truth. And I want to reiterate here that some words are not interchangeable. And that means some of the words from the King James to other versions, they should never. I'm not telling you that in everyday chatter you need to run around saying, "Know ye not." But you really and truly need to understand the meaning behind those particular words, why they were used, and why they should never, ever be interchanged with modern day English language. It's not the way it works. When we cover the next lesson, we'll talk in depth about that. And then I think you'll get an idea exactly what I mean when I say you really should stick with the King James. And why I am a King James only is, again, it's not a perfect version and it's certainly not holy. It's missing a lot of things when it comes to scriptures, when it comes to wording. It's been scrubbed And of course, when you listen to the story in the first video on this King James series, three-parter, you understand why. So, another little antidote about my angels. This has been, I don't know, about 4 years or so ago. About that. I was in California and I just so happened to be up on the platform waiting for one of the trains. I was sitting there just enjoying the outside, outdoors, looking at the birds, fighting over little pieces of food, and watching the people, the sounds, and the train, and the noise. I'm sitting there, and one of those driverless cars comes by, and I was just being present. And then this is before I was really, really aware of the depth of the scripture when it talks about out of your belly shall flow. Just getting my feet wet when it came up with that, but I had always been listening and hearing uh, the voice of the angels and the Most High. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, I feel within me crazy ass cars. And I said, did I did I just say that to myself? But no. So you guys use the four-letter words when necessary. It was so funny. You know what that taught me? To be even more authentic than I had been. So, your angels, they're not looking for you to wear a mask or to be like anyone else. And I had been kind to people and they had walked over me for many, many, many years. And I had never really said much to them in the way of, I guess, defending myself. The last few years, that has changed. And when I say I don't give two fucks what somebody says, my angels think it's funny as all get up. You know what? A fight, a big fight, took place in the heavenlies. And I guarantee you, I found this out, I was not in shock. The Most High didn't sit there saying, now, now. And when he looks down, he doesn't say, now, Satan, Lucifer, stop raping those babies and do not give the kids any more drugs. It's killing them, especially the fentanyl. And quit stealing widows' houses. Do you think that's what he says to someone who wants to ruin his world, trample his people? No. And when there was a fight in heaven, Archangel Michael let some words rip that you probably have never heard, four letters put together in such a way. I'm like, ow, don't be nice to these people when they run you over. Tell them to get the fuck out of your way. I don't care that people don't understand me or like it. I am an earth angel, and that earthy part of me comes out every now and then. It's not excessive. It's not something that I try to do. But be authentic and be yourself. Because if I, one of these days, happen to be out in the environment, in the public, tooting my word, and I never said anything off, anything colored, four lettered, those words make the sentence more exciting. If I never said that kind of thing, and then all of a sudden I came out with it, you'd say, who is that person? That's her? She never said that on her videos. Well, I'm telling you now, I know who I am and I know whose I am. And if you still get triggered because of those things, because I feel it in the energy, people are judgmental about it. If you still get triggered, take off your mask. How about that? Anyway, all right. I think I might be over my 20 minutes. I'm trying to keep it there. One more video to go, and this next one is going to be a doozy. And I think it's going to bring some things together for you. So, hope you've been humming, being present, and not saving it, because today is the day, the acceptable day for salvation. Step out of the box. All right. See ya. Bye.